Hello, welcome to Live Rally Games Podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm excited to be back today with more Surviving Reelfoot Fowler's Point coverage. And today, joining me is James. James, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. And full
Ha-
disclosure, before we get going, if
Mhm.
you have no idea what's going on and have stumbled upon this, I am a person who stutters. So there would be many stuttering moments during this conversation. Everything is good on your end. Audio is good. It's just me. So just want to get that disclosure out there.
Well, how have you been doing since Reelfoot?
So it's been 2 weeks to the day since I've been eliminated, and it's been an interesting couple of weeks. This was a lot harder physically and mentally, both in
Mhm.
game than I anticipated, and also getting out of the game than I anticipated. Uh, Physically, I lost 10 to 15 pounds. I did not get an appetite back until I think Thursday,
Mhm.
and then mentally, just like going from being in the wilderness surrounded by nothing and only 30 people to being back into the real world was a complete adjustment for
Mhm.
me. But fortunately, my cast has been really great. We're all having our issues, so we have our different group chats going, just offering support to one another because this is a very difficult experience, and unless you've been through it, you really don't get it. Like I can talk to my family, friends, and coworkers and explain as best as I can, but the ones that only truly get this are the ones that went through this adventure with me.
Yeah, because even like from talking with Angela, even if you win, there is still a lot of things that are racing through your mind that you're trying to understand and figure out, or like all the coulda, shoulda, wouldas that haunt you. Like even winning doesn't make you immune from that.
Yeah, yeah. Now I've been talking to Angela, talk just about every day, or like almost, or every other day about in our what ifs and what could have been. I know for me, most of my what ifs and what could have been focus on my elimination, that long 15-hour stretch. But I'm sure we'll get into that later
Mhm.
on.
Oh, we have a question from Dustin saying like, when he's out, like the sound of music is always one of the things he misses when he's out in the wilderness. Was there anything you found yourself like acutely missing while you were playing Reelfoot?
Music is one of them. When we were driving, once I got eliminated, we were driving, I think to Walmart or whatever, and I
Hmm.
heard music for the first time in 6 days. It's like, wow, this is weird. This is wild. So like, music was nice. I also missed being inside. I missed food. I missed air conditioning. I missed a pillow, sleeping in like all that kind of stuff. But
You missed the rain?
outside of like the essentials, I'd say music.
Now, talk to me about your experience with the Survivor fandom and how you discovered Reelfoot.
So I started watching Survivor in 2005. It was Survivor Palau. My dad wanted to check it out to see what this whole Survivor was. So I remember watching the very first episode, and after about 10 minutes, we turned it off. I think because I had to like study or do some homework, whatever. We
Hmm.
turned it off. The second episode we didn't watch. I have vague memories of watching Jeff Wilson roll his ankle on a coconut. And then by the fourth episode, I was back into it. And then by the time it was down to Stephanie and Bobby John, like I was sold. Palau is one of my all-time favorite seasons, one of my all-time favorite casts. And then this was 2005. I live in New Orleans,
Hmm.
and Katrina hits in 2005, and I see that Stephanie and Bobby John from Palau are going to return to Guatemala, and it gave me something to look forward to. My house got flooded. We were living in Lafayette, Louisiana at the time,
Hmm.
evacuating there, which is 3 hours west of New Orleans, and like everything was unknown, didn't know what was going on, but I knew I had Survivor to look forward to.
Hmm.
So I remember watching the first episode of Guatemala in my hotel that I was sharing with my parents and my sister. And then the second episode, we had between the first episode and the second episode, we moved from the hotel to my grandparents' house where we were living for 9 months.
Hmm.
And everything was a chaotic mess, but I had Survivor and I had Amazing Race to watch. And those were reminders of home in a weird way. So watched Survivor Guatemala and Survivor Panama at my grandparents' house. And then my mom and sister, they kind of fell off the boat. My dad was never really on the boat. but I stuck with it just because I really enjoyed it. At first, I enjoyed the challenges, but quickly realized I enjoy the strategy and the psychology of the game. And I watched it throughout high school, college, post grad life. It's been 17 years. It's one of the few constants in my life. I know that sounds extremely sad, but it's true. It's
Mhm.
in the older I've gotten, the more into the fandom I've gotten, like RHAP, all the podcasts. And during like my rough days, there's something that with Survivor I can look forward to escape, whether it's a podcast, whether it's just rewatching an episode, whether it's whatever. And I've met some incredible people through this community. So through my involvement in the community, I got into online reality games about 2 years ago and did one 2 years ago, whatever, met some really cool people through it. Uh, did another one a year and a half ago, and I'm done with orgs. Don't want to do them ever again. Don't send me an invite to your org. I'm going to say no. But through the org world, I kind of sort of met Sarah from season 9,
Mhm.
and we are in like a big group chat together for an org. And she posted the application for Reelfoot in our chat shortly after she got back. I looked at it, thought, no, not going to happen. And then like a week or so later, I was bored one night. And I was like, you know what? Let me just apply for this thing. What's the worst that can happen? They cast me, and they did cast me, and now we're here. So that's how I got into Reelfoot. Stumbled upon it. Didn't know it existed until last
Mhm.
year. Didn't think I was going to get it, but here we are, almost 1 year later.
So what's interesting about Reelfoot compared to maybe some of the other live rally games out there is Reelfoot's one of the longest games out there. Had you heard of the other games, or Reelfoot was your first exposure to live rally games?
So I knew they were like out there. I remember watching like Survivor Washington about 5 years ago,
Hmm.
which I think was like a 2 or 3 day game I found on YouTube.
Hmm.
Survivor Philadelphia, which I think is like a day-long game that Wendell and Bryce participated in a couple years ago. But outside of that, I knew they existed, but really had zero interest in doing it until I stumbled upon Reelfoot.
Hmm. So what? How did you prepare for Reelfoots? Like, what did you do ahead of time before the game began?
So I thought and I overthought about different possible strategies. I worked on puzzles,
Hmm.
specifically slide puzzles, which did me absolutely no good since there was zero slide puzzles the entire season. And I built up my cardio. I went from about walking 2 miles a day to about 5 to 7 miles per day.
Hmm.
And I watched a couple YouTube videos on how to make fire.
Okay.
That was my
Was
prep.
it was any of that helpful?
So did not prep as much as I should have. First person to tell you that. Oh, and I cut caffeine from my diet a week before starting.
What do you wish you did? If you can go back in time and tell past James, do the following, what would you tell yourself?
What if I could go back and redo it? Would definitely work on running more since there's a lot of way more running than I anticipated. Um, and that would be like the biggest thing, running and probably lifting some weights.
Mhm. So that's kind of the physical side, but talk to me a little bit more about the strategy side. What were you thinking coming into the game? Like, what did you already have plans, or well, tell me about that?
So going into the game, I didn't have a set specific strategy
Hmm.
simply because I didn't know if it was going to be two tribes, if it was going to be three tribes, if it was
Hmm.
16 people, 18 people, 20 people, 24 people like they did on season 8,
Hmm.
if it was going to be extra votes, twist, whatever, whatever. I did as much research as I could on Reelfoot to see what they've done in past seasons. Uh, that kind of helped me a little bit just to get an idea of what could happen. But going in, I knew I couldn't really get a set strategy until I figured out who was on my tribe, what was going on. But I knew whatever my strategy was going to be had to be on the ABCs of the game: adaptability, building bonds, and communication. I think
Hmm.
if you can do those three pretty well, you should be okay in the beginning.
So one of the interesting aspects of Survivor is I think there's a huge benefit to being ourselves, but sometimes maybe there's things we want to leave out. Like when I played Survival Challenge, I didn't tell people. I just quit my job to go join a PhD program. In your case, you're an author. You wrote a book, Dear World, I Stutter, a series of open letters from a person who stutters. And that was apparently one of the things you decided not to really tell people until you kind of the end of your game. Talk to me about that decision.
Correct. So as soon as I got cast, I knew that I was not going to let them know about this part of myself. And it's not because I'm embarrassed or ashamed of all that I've done
Mm-hmm.
and outside of the book and my writings and my guest lectures and my podcasts and my presentations. It's just I wanted to hide that part of myself because I thought going in, I already had enough targets on my back. Why put another one on it? Like y'all saw me in challenges. Like I'm not a physical person. I knew going in my lack of physical strength was going to be a liability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Mr. Outdoorsman. Like camping is not my idea of fun. And I also had this concern that once people found out that I'm a person who stutters, they would not want to take me to the end simply because of how stuttering is portrayed in the media, of how whenever there's a person who, who stutters, I'm on a TV show or a reality TV show such as America's Got Talent, The Voice, etc. They typically get an edit that says, "Woe is them. Please feel sorry for them. Look how they overcame this thing, and vote for them out of sympathy." And I feared that could be a possibility, not because that's what they thought, but because that's what they saw on TV. Because although representation in the media has gotten better, it still has a long way to go. I figured those three potential strikes against me. And then if they realize that, hey, this guy is a published author, he's a he's like done a TED talk, he's spoken at numerous conferences and universities, they would see that as another threat, like, oh, we can't let this guy sit to the end. He's good with his words and knows how to present to an audience. So I did not want that. And then secondly, I wanted to do this for me. Like I see all that I've done as what I call the brand, which is this very extroverted, charismatic version of myself. But I didn't want them to know that. I wanted them to know me for me, like me or not like me for who I am, not for all that I've accomplished outside of the game.
So, what has been more difficult, standing up and giving a TED talk, or playing 5 days in the wilderness of Tennessee? Like, how would you compare those two?
TED talk was a walk in the park compared to this. TED talk was so easy. Yeah, it was like public speaking, but it was to only 300 people. I really couldn't see that many of them, and I had a lot of time to prep and go over. I knew what I was going to say. Whereas with this, I wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, was stressed out, was paranoid, and had an idea of what I was going to do, but what was true at 10 a.m. on a Monday may not be true at 5 p.m. on a Monday. Whereas my TED talk was going to stay the same throughout. But yeah, I'd rather do like 1,000 TED talks than do Reelfoot. This was a million times harder.
If you had made it, let's say if you had made it Final Tribal Council, do you feel like you felt very confident with that? Because if you've given speeches, you've given TED Talks, right? Public speaking is a skill you've developed.
Right, yeah. I know, like, had I went to tribal, I would have felt good in my public speaking abilities. Like, that would not have scared me at all. I think I would have done pretty well. And that's why I didn't tell people.
Because what's interesting is, like, listening to the confessionals, there's a couple of players who are very open in their confessionals about wanting to target public speakers. There's like, that person can talk, that person needs to go. And I don't think your name was thrown out as one of them. So I think like omitting that, oh yes, I've given a lot of speeches, was very good for you.
Right. Yeah, like I did not want to do that. Like I've presented at like a dozen plus universities. I facilitated numerous discussions and presentations at my company, present at national and international conferences, done a TED Talk. Like they did not need to know that until after the fact. And I think when I told Sharif and Ponderosa, I believe it was Sharif, I told him all that, and he said, why am I not surprised?
I mean, so you end up having a bit of a different problem where it's not the public speaking, it's not the fact you're an author, it's the fact that you're just smart and people see it. It's right. And like, and what can you?
And there's also that. There's that.
And like, well, what can you even do about that, right?
Right. I mean, like I know looking at me, probably your first impression of me in a game like this is okay, clearly he's like not here for it's like challenge prowess or his athletic ability. I look a lot younger than I am. I'm 29, but I know I could
Mhm.
pass for an 18, 19-year-old. So people probably see, okay, here's like the young, unathletic, not so physically fit, nerdy super fan with glasses. This guy knows this game. We don't want anything to do with that.
So, coming to Reelfoot, did you have like a survivor checklist or bucket list of things you wanted to do in your time in the game?
Yeah, so I had some, goals that I wrote the day before I left. When I was in sequester before the game. Don't be the first one voted out of the tribe. Don't be the first one voted. Don't be the first one voted out of the game. Don't be the first one voted out of your tribe. Leave it all in the field. Be yourself. Play a game you can respect and be proud of when you look back on, and win. Of course, I wanted to be part of blindsides and do all that, but I wanted to play under the radar and let the bigger people take control at first.
Hmm.
Like let the bigger personalities do their thing, and then I sneak up towards the end
Hmm.
and, and show my true cards. But didn't happen, unfortunately. But yeah, I wanted
And
to just, as long as I wasn't the first one out of the game or my tribe, I was going to be okay.
so let's get to the start of the game because you have a bit of a rocky journey to begin. The game begins 17 players. It's a schoolyard pick, and you kind of feel like you're reliving like the high school days or middle school days. I can't remember which period
Hmm.
of schooling it was, but you end up being the last person picked. Well, tribe, which ends up kind of being a blessing because you get to choose which tribe you want to be on. Talk me through that.
Right. So we were in sequester the morning of, and we go out. Now let's show what we're doing. We're told to line up, and Amos says we're doing a schoolyard pick.
Hmm.
And so I count. There's 8 women. There's 9 men. I realize quickly one of us is not going to be picked. And I even once I realized there's one more man than woman, I realized I'm probably not going to get picked for the
Hmm.
reasons I mentioned previously. Just the way I look,
Hmm.
not super physical. I kind of have like that young super fan, uh, a, a nerdy, a strategic appearance to me. So I was preparing to not be picked. I was bracing myself. Okay, you're either being eliminated from the game, you're going to exile, or you're picking your tribe. I think at one point, Josh and I, we kind of looked at each other and we gave each other the nod, knowing it was going to be one of us. So I couldn't tell you the order that people were picked. I don't know who picked who, why, how. I was just thinking, you went through all of this, you may be eliminated. That would really suck. But then that quickly went through, and I didn't think production would eliminate 2 people on the same day, since
Hmm.
we had someone drop at 5:30 a.m. that day and they couldn't find a replacement. I was just thinking from a production standpoint, it wouldn't make sense for them to lose 2 people hours and hours into the game if they could prevent it. So then my next thought was, okay, I'm going to Exile Island, which from my game perspective, like great, I won't be the first one out. But then it's like, oh shit, I'm going to be on Exile Island. I have 0 outdoor skills. I'm going to die. But I was like, brace myself. Okay, if you go to Exile, they'll probably give you some help. You might be okay. Like they don't want you to die. And then my third thing was maybe they're going to let you pick your tribe because in Vanuatu they merged at they did a swap at 13, and Lisa Kiefer got to pick her tribe. So I was thinking, okay, I'll probably pick my tribe. We're, we're, we're divided. Amos looks at me and says, James, how's this feel? I say, it reminds me of my days in elementary school where I was picked last for dodgeball and kickball. And then he tells me, you're picking your tribe.
And so, how do you make the decision between the Kawanu tribe and the Noga tribe?
Steven, are you still there?
Yes, there's some lag on our ends. I apologize. Can you hear me?
No worries, no worries, no worries.
So, how did you end up choosing between the two tribes? Sorry, that's it's a hard decision because you just don't know any of these people.
So it was actually an easier decision than I made it look.
Hmm.
Um, so during the, I guess, pre-production phase, I landed in Nashville on Friday afternoon, and I drove in a caravan with four other people. So in my car was Parker, who's one of the lead producers who's driving. Angela was in the front seat. Mike, who originally I thought was a contestant, but turns out he was a producer, was in the back seat with me, and then me. The car in front of us was Pete. Pete was driving. Pete's another one of the lead producers, along with Megs, Keenan, and Dina. So we all drove together. We went to lunch together. We went to Walmart together. We got dropped off at our hotels together. And then Saturday morning before production picked us up, Dina and I saw each other at the hotel lobby or like in the breakfast area. So I'm thinking, okay, I see zero familiar faces on blue. I see four familiar faces on yellow. I don't know them, but that's four familiar faces. That's four potential connections in this game. In a game like this, you need all the connections that you can get. So I picked yellow. Although blue is usually my color, I went with yellow on this one.
So one of the first things that your tribe ends up doing is you have that memory matching reward challenge. And even though you're like, oh no, I was the last one to pick my tribe, I think everyone kind of notices you kind of dominate the memory challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of lost a big connection. So I picked my tribe, and then did you want to go into the vote with
Oh yeah, sorry, I completely.
Casey given the
That's even
thingy?
more important. Talk to me about your vote for because you're told to vote for a player on your tribe. We're not telling you why.
So I'm thinking, okay, they could vote me, simply because last one in, first one out. No one on my tribe, picked me. It's a good reason to like not piss people off. Let's just go with the person that just joined. So I was just preparing. Okay, what could this be? I think I voted for Keenan for that. I'm not 100% sure. I think that if I did vote for Keenan, it was only because we were in sequester. We rode together, and then in the pre-production pre-game sequester, we shared a room together. It
Hmm.
was the two of us and Ryan, and I heard Keenan's name at one point. So like, okay, I know that kid's name. Let me just vote for him, see what happens. It then goes to a tie, and between I believe it was Casey and Storm.
Hmm.
um, I was just trying to think the entire time of, okay, like how can I overcome not being the last one picked or not being picked, I should say. Casey is picked, so we vote between Casey and Storm, and Casey wins. And my thought processes was either this is going to be a hero challenge or they're taking a page out of Survivor Maryland, a Terrapin Trousers book, which, if you haven't watched Survivor Maryland, seasons 2 through 5, arguably the greatest 4 season stretch in Survivor history. And Maryland All Stars is the top 10 all time season of Survivor, and I would die on that hill. Back to it. So in Terrapin Trials, they did a schoolyard pick, they did an instant vote, and the person that got the most votes and a person of their choice switched tribes. So I was thinking it's one of those two things. Having a extra vote necklace thing did not cross my mind whatsoever.
Well, then Casey gets immunity, gets the medallion, gives it to Keenan, and then huddles up your tribe and says, Keenan's not going anywhere. Talk me through your reaction to all that.
I think I was still like in like just like processing. Okay, I'm doing this thing. We're we're I'm here. I'm doing it. I know I have to overcome the fact that I wasn't picked. How can I do that? And then, okay, when do I disclose I'm a person who stutters, and how is that going to impact my game? But Casey gave a really good speech. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Um, this dude's a really good speaker. This dude knows what's up. Someone that I want to work with and could be a shield for my game.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, if that's what he wants to do, cool, whatever. I'll deal with that later. Let me just focus on what I need to do right now. And after Casey gave that speech, we were still in a circle for a few minutes before that memory challenge. And we all kind of disclosed our stuff. I disclosed I'm a person who stutters. A couple other people shared some of their personal stuff. And then I also shared that I have some heart issues, which will come into play later down the line.
Mm-hmm. So from here, you go pretty much straight away to your first reward challenge, the memory match challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I know Storm said in his deep dive that this was a moral victory for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can confirm that this was very much a moral victory for me. I see it's matching. I'm like, yes, this is up my alley. When I was little, whenever I visited my grandparents, my grandpa and I would always play a memory game, a matching, whatever you want to call it. So I was like, okay, I know how to do this. Um, saw the layout in my head, formed a grid-like pattern since they weren't straight up and down columns and rows. They're kind of mixed up, but I formed somewhat of a loose grid in my mind. I think I got the most matches out of all 17 of us,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a good moment. One for me because it kind of proves myself like yes, I belong here. I deserve to be here. I'm good. I can hold my own in challenges. I have some value to my tribe. And then I love them all now, but in the moment, it was a big screw you to every single person that did not pick me.
So after your victory, you head back to camp, and
Mm-hmm.
things start getting set up. Who are you talking to? Who are you starting the bond with that first evening?
Yeah, so I was just a good little worker bee.
Mm-hmm.
I outdoors was not my thing. Once Brian said that he was an Eagles fan, I was like, okay, good. I'm not going to die out here. We got
Mm-hmm.
someone who like knows what's going on. So I think pretty quickly Casey came up to me. He just said in passing, "Hey, I want to talk to you at some point. I think you and me could be the Omer and Jonathan of the season." I was like, "Okay, cool." I think Lauren and we clicked like instantly. We realized we saw the game the same way. Megs and we talked. She's an audiologist. Like I'm very much in like the speech world and they're similar fields, so we clicked on that. And then Angela and I just like clicked from jump. She came up to me, and the first words she said were, I really appreciated how honest and vulnerable you were at our group circle. We talked a little bit, bonded over some personal stuff, and then within 2 minutes, we had a final two deal. Dean and I, we bonded over not being outdoors people. We would look at each other like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? This is so out of our element. And then Keenan and I, we just connected on fandom. Ryan and I connected on sports, and Storm and I, we just like connect on the overall experience of this. So as night one kind of progressed, Lauren and I, we were talking. We were doing a confession, I believe, but we were
Mm-hmm.
getting wood in quotes, which we all know what that means. And she was someone who like I wanted to like work with, but I said something to the fact that like we could be Ricard and Shan. She's like, I don't know about that. It's like, okay, cool. I want to work with you, but I can't work with you too much because you don't see me in the same light. And by end of night one, I felt really good with me and Angela. I realized we were the swings. I noticed that Storm and Lauren were very tight, and then Dina and Ryan were super tight, and the four of them were a tight unit, with Angela probably at 5, me at 6. Didn't know like fire and ice was the thing, but I kind of figured it was just didn't know the name. Keenan was like me, Keenan and Angela were kind of in the middle, and then Casey and Megs were on the other side. That's how I saw it by night one. When we go to sleep, I was not part of the fireside, a sleepover. I was in the shelter with Megs and KC, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't sleep the first night, slept maybe a half hour. So I would lie awake a good bit, like lift my buff over my head and see that Dina, Lauren, and Keenan were all sleeping close together. And the Storm was around, Ryan was around, Angela was around. And the old adage is watch who you're sleeping, watch who others sleeping are next to. Sleep next to someone, that's who they're aligned with. I was like, oh shit, I got some work to do. So every few hours or so, I would wake up, go warm up by the fire, check it on conversation, see what's going on, go back to sleep, and repeat. And pray to God the sun comes up very soon because that first night was miserable.
Yeah, because what was interesting for me is like a lot of the confessionals that first night, it was kind of like there was the 6 of you. So Lauren, Angela, Dina, Storm, and Ryan, and you. And then Keenan was Keenan. And then there was the Casey and Megs,
Hmm.
kind of the others, right? And there was a shift
Right.
between day one to day two, where it went from there's the six to there was the five, then James and Keenan, and then Megs and KC. And so, do you feel like that happened that first night,
Right.
or like at what point do you were like, oh shoot, like there's a five and I'm here?
I think into night one, into day two. So Casey approached me numerous times about working with himself,
Hmm.
Megs, me, Keenan, and Angela, forming a five-person alliance.
Hmm.
But by which I was all for. Keenan was someone who not, excuse me, Casey was someone who I wanted to work with. We both bonded over some personal stuff, and also I saw him as a shield for me.
Hmm.
Uh, Megs and I got along pretty well. Like like Angela, like as soon as I saw her in the car, I was like, I want to work with you. We
Hmm.
clicked, we were good. And then, but I knew by morning of day two that Keenan was hell bent on not working with KC because of the whole medallion thing. So I knew, okay, Casey's going with that five. As much as I don't want to, just go with the numbers and go with the Megs vote.
Hmm.
Like I knew I wouldn't be in the best position in the game,
Hmm.
but those were numbers. That's where the numbers were going, and I wasn't going to put a target on my back
Hmm.
by going against the numbers at that first tribal. So by like afternoon of day two, I knew it would most likely be Megs, and so I just kind of spent the next couple of days just lying to their face. Sorry, don't feel good about that, but I knew that's just what was going to happen. Whenever we went to tribals, Megs was most likely going to be the first boot. If we had to go tribal again before the swap, my plan was to do damage control with Kasich immediately, try to swing over Keenan, and hope maybe try me, Angela, Casey, and Keenan against those four. But looking back, Angela's in that five, so I don't know if that would have happened. He must have been hell bent, so it probably was going to happen. Then I would just had to vote KC, try to pull something off from there.
Yeah, it was. This is a tough starting configurement for you because with Keenan, Keenan, and Angela kind of made up maybe this potential middle ground. And Angela, from talking to her, seemed open to the idea of maybe working with KC, but with Keenan being so set against KC, you really didn't have a lot of wiggle room here.
Right. And Casey was someone who I wanted to work with, and I told him that after we voted off Megs, like we voted off Megs, and I think I sat next to him at Tribal. Amos snuffs Megs torch. I look at Casey and said, "I'll explain everything," and I explained to him all the way back into damage control. But yeah, just by late morning or afternoon of day two, I knew that Keenan was, you know, hell bent against working with KC, and he was with the Lawrence Storm, Dina, and Ryan contingent. It was like
Mm-hmm.
5 into 4 is 9. If I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
Brad Culpepper math correctly, and 4 into 9 is out. So just go with the numbers.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about day two because you have a series of reward challenges, and these
Right.
don't go very well for your tribe.
So my thing was I really don't care about challenges.
Mm-hmm.
On the show, when I watch the show, I kind of tune out of challenges. Like I'm not a challenge person. Like I didn't come here to play challenge. Sat out about half of the challenges. Like didn't really concern me. Were they good for morale? Yes, but I'd rather win one immunity than and lose 3 rewards as opposed to winning rewards and getting like a popsicle and a peanut butter sandwich and an immunity.
So,
Like I came here to play the game and to win immunity, not to win popsicles and pillows and peanut butter sandwiches.
so did you end up competing in the immunity challenge?
Yes, so I sat out of I sat out of like the slip and slide one where they had to I'll go down like a slide, um, do like jump into a canoe and then a paddle and throw a ring toss. I sat out of that one. I sat out of another one. I don't remember which
Mm-hmm.
one, but yeah, I did play in the immunity challenge, and that was
How,
like
how
a big moral W for me in many ways.
Yeah, this was an obstacle course where you had to then assemble a ladder, get a key, race back, do a
Yeah,
puzzle.
so do I now?
How was that? How was the mini challenge for you? What was that
Yeah, so
like?
the first immunity was big. Oh, yeah, so immunity challenge, although like I knew I felt like I was in a good spot, I felt like I knew I was at the bottom of the majority, but I still felt okay, this I could be safe, but then there's always that chance of they could be lying to me, they're all blowing smoke on my ass, and it's me. Just because like I was the one not picked, that's an easy reason to get rid of me.
Hmm.
So I did the challenge. When we crossed the balance beam going towards the ladder puzzle, I slipped and fell, had to go back. I was like, oh, this is not helping uh, helping of my cause like whatsoever. I'm showing that I'm a physical a liability, and balance is not my strong point. So we do that, do the ladder puzzle. We come back, we're running, and I was able to make it past the balance beam without needing any help, without falling. Ryan was there, waiting for me. And I guess I just had like the adrenaline going of this could be me. So like
Hmm.
I sprinted across the balance beam. I told Ryan, I'll get the hell in my way. I got it. Just move. He moved. We got it. We jumped. I was there for the puzzle. Once I saw the puzzle, like, I had a decent idea of what it was. I put down a couple pieces. Like Angela just put one piece in like the perfect spot. Ryan saw something. He flipped two pieces, and like 3 seconds later, we won immunity. It's like, holy crap! I'm not going to be the first one voted out of this game or the first one voted out of my tribe. Check and check.
So, end of day two, how are you feeling at this point?
Like feeling like in an okay spot, but know that my spot is not as good as I thought it was
Hmm.
24 hours previously. Like I know I felt like I'm number six on the totem pole.
Hmm.
I have some wiggle room, but I need to make something happen.
And are there any plans to do that, or are you targeting like I really need to get in with like Lauren or Storm or Ryan?
So originally, like Lauren, Angela, and I, we kind of had like a loose three. So I figured if we get to the sixth, Angela and I could be the swing votes,
Hmm.
or at the very least pull off a 3-2-1.
So day three, you see that Drew gets voted out, and you compete in this challenge with a run, search for balls in a haystack, and then do the vertical ball maze. Were you competing in that?
Nope, I was on the bench,
So your tribe ends up winning
and I really
rewards.
wasn't paying
Not
attention that much to it.
you all get reward instead of immunity, but then the real immunity challenge, which is the idle hand challenge, you're competing in that one, right?
Yes, I was in idle hands. I was against Barbara, and I lost my round to Barbara, which okay, like I knew going in challenges were not going to be my thing. And like, did it suck? Yes, but I could tell that Barbara like really just needed that moral victory, and so like awesome, cool. And she did, hit my head at one point. She felt really bad about it. She like, came up to me after and apologized. I think, inadvertently hit my head with her paddle, like, or something with that. She
Mhm.
inadvertently hit me with the paddle, which like, whatever. I was fine, but
And
it was all good.
so,
We won that challenge, so it was okay.
so during this day and kind of day two, there's probably been a lot of idol searching, right?
Hmm. Yes. I did like look for idols, but I didn't go like in-depth idol hunting.
Hmm.
Just for me, and the way that I like to play in my game and my strategy, I'm not a big idol person. Give me a solid ally and some solid relationships. Barbara's all good, no worries. Like, it's no big deal. It barely hurt. Don't worry about it. Uh, so idols, I'm not a big fan of. Give me a solid relationship, a solid ally over a trinket and an advantage. So like, yes, I was looking, but I was not burning energy looking for an idol. In hindsight, should I have? Yeah, because I mean, it would have saved me, but I didn't, and that's what it is. That was like a conscious decision on my end. And I heard about it, I think the other day, that there was a fake idol hidden at the first mini challenge after the swap when I was untying the oars at both Lauren and I. did not even see. But oh well, is what it is.
So your final immunity challenge for the day. This is the maneuver the balls to a really heavy table maze, and do that. Do you compete in that?
I think so. I really don't remember.
It's all a
Steve,
blur.
like challenges like weren't my thing. Like I didn't care about challenges. Like I was here exactly, Lydia.
Coming for the Sandra sit-up bench.
Exactly. Like I knew that I was not going to be a physical player. I was going to be more of a mental player.
Mhm.
So if I could sit out of a challenge and not show that physical liability, I was going to do that. If I needed to play because you need someone at a puzzle, let me be the puzzle person. But if I had to like run 1,000 miles and like untie some stuff and shoot a basketball, I'll probably die, which almost did at that Pete's Palooza, but and the Aura challenge. But we'll get to that in a minute.
So,
But yeah, I think I participated in that challenge in like the egg crate thing.
mhm.
Don't know what I did if I participated.
So this ends up with your first immunity loss as a tribe, right? You've been on a winning streak. Now it's over. But we've kind of talked about this already. The strategy for this tribal council is very much set at this point.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty much a done deal. I really like Megs, but we talked like personal stuff, but day one, day two, but we didn't really talk like game until maybe evening of day two. We went to go get wood, and I used that phrase in quotes. And I was like, so what do you think? And she's like, oh, I'm not really sure, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, okay. And then we lose that challenge. And we talked a couple of times, but by that point, it was like done. She thought the plan was the two of us, Casey, Keenan, and Angela, were going to vote Lauren. Excuse me. And I knew that was not going to happen. It
Mhm.
was just pretty much a done deal by probably like afternoon of day two that our first boot was going next. Just the way the numbers fell and alliances formed.
Do you wish you had like told Casey or Polisario beforehand, saying, "Hey, this is what's happening. My hand is forced. I'm so sorry," or do you think that would just made things bad?
So I thought about doing that, but then I know he was dead set on voting against Lauren,
Hmm.
and Lauren was still someone who I wanted to work with. I
Hmm.
knew we weren't going to be each other's number ones, but I wanted different options. And my thing was, in case Casey has an idol, he could idol out Lauren, and I did not want that to happen. So my thing was just do damage control ASAP with Casey. Like as soon as Amos, snuffs, Meg's torch, start doing damage control.
Now, as we kind of get to end of day three, who were the most important people in your tribe to? Who were like, if you had to list them out in order of importance for your game?
Ooh. So I think Angela Lauren, Casey still someone I want to work with, and then Ryan and Storm, Dina, like I was cool with them, but I knew like I was at the bottom of their totem pole, and then Keenan we were kind of like loosely aligned
Hmm.
together, not like super tight, but we were, I guess, quote unquote, in the middle.
So this is kind of, so
I think that's
you,
everyone at that point.
were you anticipating a tribe swap? James, were you anticipating a
Yeah,
tribe swap?
yes, yes, we were. I was anticipating one,
Hmm.
although I figured it would be the next morning. Was not anticipating to be immediately after tribal council. So we leave tribal, and I think I was in the front of it, talking to Casey, trying to do some damage control, and then I noticed that I had given Angela the extra vote medallion thing.
Hmm.
So I, looking back, I know she Angela's pick was taken away because she had that medallion thing. But in the moment, I was thinking, oh no, something bad happened because we all knew that Angela's sister was pregnant and was due like any day now.
Oh no.
Home. I hope that's not the case, and like that was my main concern. Was like I hope everything is good with Angela and her family.
Oh,
did not even cross my mind that they were pulling a book out of Amazon and doing like the Tribe Summit Switch thing. Didn't even think about it.
more specifically though, did you want a tribe swap?
Um, I figured it was coming, and I was just going to whatever happened happened, and that would be my new tribe, and like play as if like those are my people because I don't know what's going to happen on the other tribe. So make my alliances, make my connections with whatever team I'm on, and then hopefully have those options, have options from my original tribe, and see what happens and what's best for my game.
So let's say you were in Angela's
Like I
position
knew I
and
was on
you
the bottom, so like yeah, it would be beneficial.
if you, let's say you're in Angela's position and you got to basically pick three members of your original tribe to swap with, who would those three have been?
Angela Lauren. I couldn't pick Casey because I knew he was pissed at all of us and would defect immediately. Um, and either like Ryan or Storm for tribe strength.
All right. Well, unfortunately, you don't get any of those people. So you swap to
Yeah, lucky me.
Noga with your new pals, Keenan, Casey, Dina, Barbara, Josh, and Sharif. And Sharif would first like to ask, how did you like your new campsite?
Oh my God, dude. Like Blue Camp was like the best place I've ever spent a night in my entire life. I mean, it had all the amenities you could think of, like the like a golden toilet, very comfortable bed, beautiful shelter, like the red carpet, like everything you could ever want in a camp. The Blue Camp had it. I hope I know I'm being very facetious right now. Blue Camp was like
Well,
probably one of the worst nights of my life. Not even joking.
but they have blankets and pillows.
Well, yeah, that didn't do a whole hell of a lot.
So
But yeah, Blue Camp was honestly one of the worst nights of my life.
talk me through your thoughts upon being in this new tribe and what this means to you.
Okay, so I see. So I first off was like, oh shit, maybe I'm not as close with Angela as I thought I was. First
Mhm.
thought. Okay, and now I'm with Casey, who I've been lying to like nonstop for the past 2 days. I hope I'm good with him, but gotta do a lot of damage control. And then Dina and Casey, like I mean Dina and Keenan, yes, we voted together, but we were like very loose. Like we weren't on we weren't we weren't at the top of of the people that we wanted to work with. Was like I was cool with them, but like they weren't like my number one picks. I was not their number one picks in terms of allies. But this was the hand I was dealt. This is what I got to do, and do it. And then Josh, Barbara, and Sharif, I could tell pretty quickly they were a very tight three. If that's who
Mhm.
Josh was picking, obviously he's very close with them and wants to work with them. So we get to blue. We once again do our little sharing circle, introduction circle. I just close my person stutters. And then we get a tree mail saying we have to build a raft for our challenge tomorrow. The sun is setting at this point, so we go up. We see a bunch of bamboo. We all look at each other and we say, we're doing the Moga Moga method, right? Right. Which for those unaware or like don't have like this like nerdy like not encyclopedia knowledge, the Moga Moga method refers to in Survivor All Stars. They had a similar challenge, and the Moga Moga tribe consisting of Hatch, Lex, Colby, Kathy, and Shan. Jen was voted out at this point. Um, they were given bamboo and had to make a raft. Instead of going all out, they just took all of the bamboo they were given, tied it all together and kept it moving, and they won the challenge. So we're like, it worked for them, it'll work for us. We do that. Uh, that was our game plan. We kind of like work on tying them all together. Go to bed. Blue camp, worst night of my life. I go to lay down, and the sleeping order was KC, Dina, Sharif, myself, Keenan, Barbara, and Josh. I go to lay down, and I'm like, oh hell no. I had maybe a quarter of a centimeter in between Casey and Sharif. Couldn't even put my arms at my side. Had to do like this number with my arms. And I get caught claustrophobia in like very extreme cases, and this was one of those cases. I put my head down. I was like, "Oh hell no!" Shot up, had to calm myself down, and just like told myself it's okay. Like you signed up for this. Like, you like willingly paid money to have this adventure, have this experience. This is part of it. So I barely slept that night. Whenever we had to move, it pretty much felt like an act of Congress for me to move. You know, like quarter of an inch in one direction. Like worst night of my life. There was a point where I was considering grabbing the walkie-talkie that production
Hmm.
leaves for us every night. Was very close to calling it and just saying, "Get me the hell out of here."
Hmm.
It's like terrible night. Just like, Liz not gonna do this. And I thought to myself, if I have to spend a second on NetBlue, I might quit. Little did I know that would have been really great for my game, but we'll get there.
I mean, so this is night 3, morning 4. You've made it almost to the halfway mark of the game, right? At least day wise. I mean,
Yeah.
what's going through your head of like what's been easier than expected? What's been harder than expected?
Easier than expected, absolutely nothing. Harder than expected, absolutely everything. I only told 5 people that I was doing this. I told my parents, my sister, my best friend, and my therapist. And I think I told all of them, if I make it past day 3, it's going to be a miracle.
Hmm.
So I woke up on day 4. It's like, okay, I made it further than I thought I did. That's really awesome. Cool. And then my second thought was, is me, Dina, and Keenan are the only ones at the shelter, which means Casey is with Blue,
Hmm.
becoming best friends with them. Oh shit, I need to go do damage control. So I throw my shoes on and go up the slip and slide that was the pathway from our camp to the clearing and go help with the challenge. I was of zero help. I was just there to supervise basically. Uh, but just kind of help form my bonds because the night before we really didn't have enough time between it was getting dark out and working on the challenge. I didn't have the opportunity to like make those bonds and make those connections with Josh, Sharif, and Barbara. So while we were helping, we made those connections. Josh and I, we realized very quickly that we were pretty much the same archetype. He was just a younger version of me, and that we saw the game very similarly, and we wanted to work together. Sharif, really cool, really liked him. We bonded over some personal stuff that he shared with me. We bonded over that. And Barbara was just like the try mom, got along with her like instantly, all good with her. So during that time, as we're building that raft, they're approaching me, I'm approaching them, we're talking strategy. They're telling me that I'm okay and that I'm good. They want to work with me, but I wasn't 100% about that because on paper, yellow had the numbers of myself, Dina, Keenan, and KC, and blue was in the minority of Josh, Sharif, and Barbara, but KC flipped to blue within 0.2 seconds of being there. So we were in the minority. And they can say, yeah, we want to work with you all they want, but did I buy it? No, I wasn't going to buy it until we put pen to parchment and like I survived a round.
So going to this immunity challenge, where again I love the raft. It was probably my favorite thing of the challenge. Uh, we have a question from Taylor Gabby. So in this challenge, there is a hidden advantage on the oars, which James were the one to tie. Did you see this advantage? And if you did you choose not to see it, or were you just too focused on the challenge to see it?
I was too focused on the challenge. So we were trying to figure out our positions,
Hmm.
and it was like I knew I had to do do the puzzle. Like that's just my thing. So as a puzzle person, I could either run and untie the oars, or uh, or paddle the raft. Like paddling is not my strong point. Running is not my strong point. But while I was trying to build up my cardio in the months leading up to this, I did incorporate some jogs and sprints into my walks. So I figured I can do this. Should I do this? Probably not. I should not be running. Like, no, not a good idea. Like, I typically don't run on days that end in Y, but I figured, got to do it. Got to be part of it. So and then I saw I was up against a lot. I was like, oh shit, like I know I'm not going to win this foot race. But as far as I'm concerned, and I said this many times throughout the challenges, is that all the stuff before the puzzle is window dressing, and that's a Dalton Ross quote from Entertainment Weekly. As long as you give me a chance with a puzzle, we'll be good. So my thing was just like run up there, don't screw up, and don't die. So I was trying to get my paddles back in a reasonable amount of time, try to untie my knots. I think one of them I just ripped it off the thing, didn't see the idol, didn't know it was there, wasn't looking for it. I was just like so focused on get it and run back down and give your tribe a chance because I knew I was not going to win in like any foot race against Lauren. So nope, did not see it. Was too focused.
So you end up being one of the puzzle solvers for this challenge, and this is a doozy of a word scramble.
Yes. So as I ran back down, I put the oars and I'm like trying to catch my breath. The aforementioned heart problems, they're starting to kick in now. I tried not to like overexert myself, and I found like I overexerted myself. Was drinking my water, but with not really eating that much, not really sleeping that much, really wasn't helping the cause. So I'm trying to like not die. And then as people are coming back from untying their puzzle pieces, they're giving me the different letters. So like I'm going, okay, AEI, AEICOU, like just trying to think like what these are letters I have. What are some words that could be it? So it's a me, Casey, and Dean on the puzzle. We're trying to think of what it could be. At first, we think is like save a vote, cast a vote, something like that. Like we were very much in that trajectory. And then we realized we had victory. And we had ATSEA. And we're like, a seat at victory, C at victory, at C victory. And we could tell that yellow was close. Josh saw it, but he was one of the swimmers. So he was freaking out, almost got his DQ because he almost blurred out. So they made him turn around. And yes.
Another great anagram.
I think that was like a possibility. Either we had at one time or like yellow at one time. And then I think we like finally got it. Victor at C. Like I have like Amos over here, so I'm trying like at C victory, C at victory, and then I was like, hey, victory at C, Amos, blue wins immunity. Holy crap, this is exhilarating because I thought it was my ass on the line. So we're celebrating. I personally admit like I over celebrated that one. So, sorry yellow, but I felt like I needed it because otherwise I would be on the pre-jury trip. That's the way that I saw it. So after that challenge, everyone's going back to camp, and I had to take a seat because I can just tell like I just totally overexerted myself. Was very much out of breath. Laid down for like a split second. Like had my team give me my water bottle, try to like, cool myself down. And if Parker's in the chat, let me know. But I think if I remember correctly, it was Parker who told me that for like a split second they were like legit worried about me from a medical perspective. Fortunately, I was okay. I got my water. I was able to calm down, catch my breath, and just kind of sat and cried because I felt like I helped with that victory. I thought it was me, and just I guess letting the emotions of the game at that point just kind of get me, felt them, cried it out, and went back to the hellhole that was blue.
Well, anything notable happened back at Blue? Any speculation who's getting voted out from the Kawanu 2.0 tribe?
So we kind of figured it'd be either Bash, Carly, or Megan. Like I didn't really know any of them well, so I didn't really have an opinion. But we just kind of figured it was going to be one of them. And then while we were chilling, while they were scrambling at tribal, I think for the most part we did some scrambling and talking, getting wood. But for the most part, we just kind of like sat around camp and just got to know one another, relax, lie down, just like take it easy because we knew we had another challenge coming up and try to like fill up our like energy back.
You didn't know at the time, but no one had ever found the Unoga idol. Had that been something you would have known about, would you have spent time searching for it?
Maybe a little, just because I didn't know where exactly my position was in the game. I would spend more time on that one. But then if I do that and they see me, well, that puts a target on my back, either to get rid of me in case I have it or to flush it. So I didn't want to like be too obvious about it. And plus, there was like really nowhere you could go and look for an idol because like the camp was 2 feet wide and like 5 feet long. Like there's no place to hide, nowhere to really go. It was a mess. And if you were on blue, you can I'll confirm that.
Had at this point Barbara, Josh Sharif been floating a name out to you? Were they saying, "Hey, we're thinking Keenan," or "Hey, we're thinking KC"? Had anything like that happened?
So Casey was never thrown out, as far as I remember, because Casey had immediately defected and like the popular name at that time, and I was okay with that. I knew that Casey wanted Keenan for what happened with the medallion thing. I wanted to get back on Casey's good side, so if they wanted Keenan, fine with me. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
James, so I was just looking to survive that swap because in the 2 orgs I've played, I always go out like right after the swap. So it's like just want to survive the swap, survive the swap, survive the swap. So if they
Yeah.
wanted Keenan, then cool. I vote with Keenan. Show Casey that I'm working with him, and then show like Barb, Sharif, and Joshua that you can trust me, that you can work with me, and that will be good.
I remember your confessional time
But
were giving heavy
after
Sandra Diaz
our
Twine
challenge
vibes.
lost, that changed.
I remember from your confessionals.
You know who said that?
I think we're having connection problems. Oh, James, can you hear me?
Yes, Sandra's one of my favorites.
Sorry, I think we were having a little confessional connection problems. Can you repeat what you were saying?
Let me try something real quick.
Okay, we're experimenting, folks. Science in the works.
Okay, we good?
I can hear you. I
We're
can see
back.
you.
We're good.
Yes. Um, I'll repeat the question I was saying. So I was getting heavy Sandra Diaz Twine vibes from your confessionals during this time. There's a lot of, as long as it ain't me, I'm good. James, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
The connection is the gods do not like us today.
No, they don't. They're against us.
Um, you were saying Sandra's one of your favorite players? Yeah.
Let me try to reset my Wi-Fi. Okay, is that better?
So far so good. We'll try
Okay.
again.
Okay.
You were saying Sandra's one of your favorite players?
And about Sandra.
It keeps like freezing out every time I ask a question. It's like, oh
Yeah,
no.
same. Okay. Okay. This is good now. This is good.
Okay. Um, talking about your favorite Survivor players.
Oh, so I'm a Rob Cesternino fanboy, like unapologetically so. He's one of my favorite players of all time. Sandra, Suri, um, who else? Like, yeah, those are probably like my top three. Tony, uh, Bryce, just for what he's done in the community and someone who
Mhm.
I've had the opportunity to talk to a few times. A big Aubrey fan as well.
Mm-hmm. And so I really did enjoy the channeling of Sandra at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it was very unintentional, but yeah, it was like as long as it ain't me, as long as it ain't me, and I'll be on the bench. Like I have no problems playing of being on the bench.
So if the fishing for immunity challenge was brutal, the Pete's Palooza was doubly so.
God, that damn challenge, that damn challenge. Yeah. So going into that, I think from like maybe a couple hours into the game, we noticed the bush guy. And I think both myself and Casey picked up on, hey, this is probably going to be a challenge at some point. We should probably read this.
Hmm.
And I think we all read it to like various degrees. I know I skimmed a couple pages and called it a day. Considering the amount of downtime we had, we all should have read it, but oh well. So we do Pizza Palooza. I take like the closest one. It was between me and Dina for like the closest one. I was like, I'm not going to run as far as I can because I'm still recovering from uh, the run I did the first go round, or I think the first challenge. Uh, so we do Pizza Palooza, lots of fun, let me tell you. I think we like all died. That's like all we all I think we all almost came close to death at that challenge. Not a fun experience. And what made it worse for me was like, yeah, I got to shoot the ball first and I made it in first. Lucky me was the rebounder for our tribe. So like every time they missed, had to like run, stop it, give it back to them. So just even more fun. Um, like everyone did like their best on both sides. Like it was a brutal challenge. Like I know Ryan killed it, Josh killed it for us. Like I think was it Sharif was at the third station? I don't remember. I believe it was a storm at the third station for Yellow. Like all those guys killed it. Like I couldn't have done that. Like basketball is not my sport. Anything involving any athletic ability is not my thing. Like like as y'all know from watching me during the challenges.
So unfortunately, this challenge just doesn't work out in your tribe's favor. You all lose. I imagine this is probably the most scrambling you've experienced so far this game.
Yes. Because our first vote with Megs was pretty straightforward. And then this one was a doozy. And after this challenge, I, walking back to camp, was starting to feel a little uneasy. Our pathway was a slip and slide. So by this point, probably even earlier in the day, whenever I would walk to and from the clearing to our campground, I don't know if it was my balance or the fact that I bought like really crappy cheap shoes at Walmart like a week before the game started and was using those or what, but like I would always like fall. And so I would have to like hold on to someone going like up and down to and from camp. So at this point it's like, okay, from a health perspective, my time is probably close to coming, just for my own like health of needing to do what I need to do for my health. So yeah, but it was Scramble City. We get there, everyone's talking to everyone. Like we don't even pretend that we're going to get wood or look for something. It was just we're straight up. We all knew what we had to do. No hard feelings. It was all good. So the name I originally was told was Keenan. I was like, cool. That's not James. Awesome. Cool. I confirmed it with Sharif, confirmed it with Casey, confirmed it with Dina, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Josh approached me about getting the possibility of getting rid of Dina.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to say no up front. I said, let me think about it. I talked to Casey and we talked about it. Casey was lying to me, but hey, payback. I was lying to him like the day before about the Megs vote. So all good, no worries. And from my perspective, we decided to stick with Keenan. And for my game, I did not want to lose Dina at that point
Mm-hmm.
because it was between. So I viewed Keenan as more as a physical threat, like a physical shield for me, which I'm not a physical player. I don't care in challenges. Like I like any individual challenge, unless it's like a puzzle or memory based, I'm probably going to finish it last. So that didn't I didn't care about that. Whereas I saw Dina as like a bigger strategic threat, and she would be a strategic shield for me. And so my thing was like, we get rid of Keenan, and if it's between Dina and I, Dina's a bigger strategic shield for me. And if it comes down to we need tribe strength, I think I may have the edge over Dina. Whereas if I get rid of Dina and keep Keenan, yes, Keenan is like a physical threat, like, but he doesn't really work well for my game. And if it comes down to physical strength between him and me, they're going to keep Keenan. Lo and behold, I was correct on that one, just not on the correct tribe. So I went to that vote thinking it was Keenan. Keenan thought it was KC, but I knew that was not going to happen. So I went in thinking it was going to be a 6-1-1 against 6 against Keenan, 1 against KC, and then 1 on I believe it was Josh. I had the medallion that round. It was Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Little did I know it would be a 4-2-1. Yeah, a 4-2-1-1. And as soon as that happens, I look over at Casey and he says, I'm sorry, man, I'll explain. So, like, okay, you got me, I got you. We're even, we're good. And like he explained it to me. I understood the reasoning. It was like they viewed her as a bigger social and strategic threat. And then you have the pre-existing relationship between her and Josh, which didn't somewhat factor into it, but that's their story. That's their thing. But yeah, so I was like, okay, Dina's out. Not the best move for my game, but is what it is. Figure something out.
So you don't know if you're going to merge soon. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, are you scrambling up the tribal council, trying to ingratiate with Barbara, Josh, and Sharif?
Yeah, so I talked to Casey, like he explains to me. I talked to, I don't remember, I had like one-on-ones with everyone, like a group conversation, but I know I had a one-on-one with Josh. And he explained to me, he's like, but you're still good. I still want to work with you, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, cool. Because what else am I going to say? No, I don't believe you. Like I'm 5 or 6, so be friends with the people in power.
Mm-hmm.
That was the plan. And then we get tree mail, and we get to the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm. Now, the tree mail says you're going to come and compete in the challenge, which is probably the last thing you want to hear. Mm-hmm. And you arrive at the challenge site and you drop your buffs.
Yeah, so I am thinking, okay, drop your buffs. I thought we were going to merge. That was my hope, but I was still like a little hesitant because I noticed at my first tribal, the place where we put all of our torches, there's only 10 slots for torches. So I'm thinking maybe we're merging at 10, but then in my research, I noticed that they merged last year at 12 people. So I'm thinking maybe they should have like a bigger thing for torches. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. So I drop my buffs. I'm like, please let me merge. Please let me be merged. Like I've never made merge in my 2 online games. I've come up 1 and 2 rounds short, respectively. And I drop my buff, and out of the corner of my eye, I think it was Amos, but someone from production handed Angela a yellow buff because she had the extra vote medallion thing. And I was like, shit, not again. Not another tribe swap. I did not see a second tribe swap coming at all. I thought we were going to merge. So we pick our buffs. I see yellow. I see Lauren has yellow. I see Angela has yellow. I'm like, beautiful, good. With the people I want to be back with. Ryan has yellow. I'm cool with Ryan. Good. I see Bash has yellow. I was like, okay, so that's someone we could potentially vote out if we have to. And then Josh had yellow originally. Keenan had blue originally, but because of the mutiny thing, they basically switched tribes. So I'm thinking it's like I thought I was at least number 4 on the pecking order.
Mm-hmm. So you thought this new tribe, Sebastian and Keenan were going to be out before you.
Yes, I figured I'm 4, Keenan's 5, Bash is 6, or the other way around.
Did you see the handoff from Angela to Keenan?
So there was a lot going on. I was thinking, okay, we're merging. What color am I? What's going on? But yeah, I did see that Angela gave something to Keenan. I didn't know what it was, but I heard both her and Lauren say, use it, Keenan, use it, Keenan, use it, Keenan. Mm-hmm. And then during the swap, when we were like switching mats and whatnot, I did see Ryan give something to Storm. Mm-hmm. I thought it was an idol. I think it was actually the fake idol. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember all those. Okay. But yeah, it's like, okay, so Ryan has an idol. Cool. Didn't know that. Gave it to Storm. Okay, cool. But yeah, I knew that they gave something, and then I was on yellow, and Josh pulled out his thing. I was like, put out his sock. So I thought they were given that at the summit thing. Turns out, I think they found it like during the challenge, but maybe it was during Peacepalooza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, was it? I guess was it worrying at all that like Angela and Lauren are giving something to Keenan and not you?
No, I was like maybe I didn't really think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, okay, I'm with Angela, I'm with Lauren, hugs all around, we're good. I thought I was in a good spot. Like advantages and idols, like I didn't think about those as much as I should have.
Hmm.
Like that's like one of the things I should have worked on better and done better was pay more attention and think more of okay, what could be out there? Like I knew idols could be out there, but I didn't really care about that. But I'm like, could there be a mutiny? Could there be an extra vote? Steal a vote, stay two without power, an hourglass. Like I should have thought, okay, if this happens, then what? But
So let's go to some alternate history here. Let's say they hand you the mutiny and you end up being swapped onto their tribe, right? And Josh still leaves, but it ends up there's only five of you, right? It's you, Ryan, Lauren, Angela, and Bash. Do you is there a world where you use the mutiny?
ooh, maybe because out of those five, we're going to challenge race. Like I know I'm bottom of the barrel, and then they've had more time together. Like I don't know what they have going on with like Bash and Ryan and all them, and I know that Ryan, Lauren, and Angela are tight three.
Hmm.
So I'm number four. Whereas if I go with blue, I think I have more ins and more connections.
Hmm.
May swap to blue. Honestly, I've never thought about that until just now.
Yeah, because I think I mean that would have been a really hard decision to make. It's like I can go from the safety of my old tribe, right?
Right? If I was to say to Mill Drive.
Yeah, so like you get like because you probably you feel comfortable with Angela, you feel comfortable with Lauren. You're like, I think we have an easy vote versus this other tribe. We're like, oh no, like yes, it would be kind of an even split, but not really. You kind of be on the you know you'd be in the minority, but
Right.
you think maybe like there's some wiggle room here with Keenan and Storm being targets above me.
Right. And then I could maybe try to reconnect with Casey. Josh and I kind of wanted to work together. And Ponderosa, Josh and I basically said, had we been on the same tribe from the beginning, we could have done some damage.
Hmm.
But it didn't happen that way, unfortunately. So yeah, I think I probably would have had some wiggle room and more places to hide, more people in front of me, more shields for me. Whereas with yellow, in this hypothetical world, it's myself, Bash, Ryan, Lauren, Angela.
Hmm.
Lauren, and I knew like Lauren, Ryan, and Angela were a tight three. I
Hmm.
was number four in that, and then thought Bash would be an easy vote. But if you're going tribe strength, I'm 5 out of 5, and like I know that.
Hmm.
Whereas the other ones, there's places to hide.
Hmm.
Just go with the numbers. If they say jump, I say, you know, how high?
So you go into essentially a strength-based immunity challenge, which I know is your favorite. How was it?
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. Um, so we found out what the challenge is. And both myself and Lauren knew that we were going to be like the first two out. We're like, I think Lauren was going to drop at 5 minutes. I was going to drop at 10 minutes. Funny. That was like very funny thinking of like Icolas, 10 minutes, much as 5 minutes in a strength-based challenge. That was funny. But I think that's probably why I won the funniest player of the season because I thought I could last long in a strength-based challenge. So I'm on the end. I'm next to Bash, and within like 2 minutes, I'm like, oh shit, I'm not gonna last 10 minutes. Just like hold on for like 5 minutes. I look at Lawrence like, no, I at the 5 minute mark. I look at Lawrence like, no, I have to go. I think even 2 minutes in, I realized I was screwed, and I had two backs to start with. I gave one to Bash within the first 2 minutes of the challenge. Like I knew this was not my strong point as a human being. So 5 minutes pass. I give it to Bash. I step out. I go to the bushes, thinking about to to throw up. Didn't, but yeah, I knew. Okay, something's like this. Probably for my health, it's probably good if I leave sooner than later. But I was never going to quit. I was never going to ask to be medically evacuated. But I knew that it would probably be my best interest.
Mhm.
But I didn't want to do that at all. I told Pete like, "Hey, this is what's going on." Uh, 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 he gave me some orange juice just to like help me calm me down. So I kind of hide from everyone, drink my orange juice. I come back and I see that we lost the challenge, and Angela is like crying. I don't know what happened. No idea what happened or why, but I was like,
Mhm.
Angela's crying. Let me go console her. And they're like, everything's okay. It's all good. It's just a challenge. Thinking I'm in an okay spot. No big deal. And then we get to the beginning of the end, Steven. Beginning of the end where it all goes to hell.
So the worst thing that possibly happens to your game is the fact that you had to physically separate from your tribe to collect your stuff from
Hmm.
your favorite campsite, Unoga, before returning to Kawano. And you
Yeah.
go, you do that, and you come back to the worst news you can possibly get.
So I go to Blue with Keenan. Uh, I left my poncho, which I use the term poncho very loosely. Should have packed a better poncho. I was going to buy one, but my parents were like, "Hey, we have this one in the closet. It's been like dry rotting for 20 years. Do you want that?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll take this one." Put it on, and like 0.2 seconds later, it rips. So that poncho did me absolutely no good in the game. So I go get my poncho, my poncho,
Mm-hmm.
my torch and like my sandals maybe. I grabbed a couple things, start trekking back to Yellow, and uh, yeah. So I get there, I see everyone just kind of standing in a circle around the fire. It's like, okay, interesting. I put my bag down, and I was in my bathing suit from the very first challenge of the day, the one where like I ran with the oars, Victor at Sea puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Ran to go get which one I wanted to change. I didn't change that blue because like there was really no good place to change, and I didn't want to leave. Like I didn't want to be by myself when I knew I was in the minority. So, like let me, my business is dry. I'm just staying it,
Yeah.
whatever. So go to change, and I go. I'm walking back to camp, and I see Ryan approaching me. And my first thought was, okay, this is where we're going to just figure out, is it Bash or is it Keenan? Because we have maybe an hour and a half before tribal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, little
That
did
is
I
tough.
know. Yeah. Um, so Ryan approaches me and he says, like, I respect you too much, man to man, it's you tonight. And I'm like, I was shocked. I was like, okay, like,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on? It's like, okay, just like trying to like process that an hour ago, I was welcomed into this tribe with open arms, and now I'm persona non grata, all within the past hour. What the hell is happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
This was not how it was supposed to go. So I'm walking back to the shelter. Angela and Lauren are coming up. Both are crying. Both cannot look me in the eyes. And I'm like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I put my bag down. I walk back. You see the big hug, I'll cry fest that everyone's like, James, this is really sad. And then it's like, James, why aren't you fighting for your life? Let me answer those people
Mm-hmm.
because I think this was the hardest part of my game. And it's something 2 weeks later I still struggle with
Mm-hmm.
of how I handled this. And I'm still having difficulty reconciling it. Because as a person, I'm really proud of like how I went out.
Mm-hmm.
But as a player, I'm really frustrated at myself. Um, so we go back and make it a little emotional here. Uh, so we do the hug circle, go back to shelter. I see Angela, Lauren, and Ryan are staying in the shelter. I'm like processing everything. I look at them and I say, why, how, what can I do? Like, why, what's going on? How come I went from being welcomed into open arms to being persona non grata all within an hour? Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. When not look at me, when not talk with me, and like that hurts. I said, okay, we'll talk about this over a beer on Saturday. Like
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, so the game ends Saturday, and there's like an after party for
Mm-hmm.
those unfamiliar with that. It's like after party reunion thing. It's like, okay, we'll just talk about it and get a beer. I'll talk about a beer on Saturday, whatever. So my thing is, okay, what can I do? Three people will not talk to me. I just voted for Keenan like 2 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably mad at me. He's not going to do. Why would he go back to me when he's in one more spot that would jeopardize his game?
Mm-hmm.
Bash. Only thing I said to him is, "Hey, I'm James, and I'm person stutters." That's literally the only conversation I've ever had with Bash in my life. Why would he go to me? So in that moment, it's just like, you know what? Just enjoy the next 30 minutes or so. Go out with your head held high. You did way better than you ever thought you would. You did what you came here to do, and it's okay. Like the fact that you even did this is a big W because putting myself out there was something I never would have done. Like 2 years ago, never would have done this in like 8 million years. Just because I never saw myself in that light. And then it would mean I'd have to put my biggest vulnerability and at times my biggest insecurity, stuttering, like live stream for the world to see, where I can't hide behind like a microphone or a screen. Like you're going to see the head jerks, the blocks, like all of the embarrassing characteristics associated with stuttering are going to be for the world to see. And the fact that I did this and is a major W for me. Like 2 years ago, never would have done that. The fact that people could see stuttering like represented and have that representation is part of why I did this. And I'm thinking it's like, okay, if like little Timmy in St. Louis sees me and I'm the first person he sees that stutters and he sees, oh, this guy can do it, then I can too, then I was good with that. That was a victory for me. So that's part of my reason. I was like, you know what, let me just go out with my head held high. I did better than I thought I would, held my own in challenges, held my own at camp, and I proved that I could do this to myself. And I'm okay. And then Mike and Frank dropped the bomb of, we'll see you tomorrow. And we're like, wait, what? There's no tribal? And they just didn't say anything and walked off. And I'm just like, oh, shit. Cool. I then we're just kind of all talking because we're all like, this is really awkward. We just told this guy he's going to leave. He has 12 to 14 hours to like suffer. I'd already started to like check out of the game. I knew production was having dominoes at night, so I'm like, I'm gonna get some dominoes. I'm gonna sleep in a bed. I'm gonna shower, and like next hour, life is gonna be good. And then it wasn't. Had to sleep there. So I spent that night just kind of hanging out by the fire, just talking to Bash, getting to know him just as a person. We shared some stuff. I got some about his daughter, what he's done, why he's doing this, etc. And then went to bed, hit the pill, and said, I have 12 hours to save my ass. What can I do? So I spent the night running through a bunch of scenarios, like every possible scenario I could think of. The first one being Angela has the automatic vote necklace thing. I could try to get Keenan and Bash to join my side, revote Angela 4-3. But then when do I have to offer that? Because by doing that, we put them on threat. All I have to offer them is burn bridges. Because I figured if I do that, I burn my bridge with Lauren, with Ryan, with Storm. Megan's probably not going to flip over to us at the merge, so we're at the bottom. And I'm at the bottom of the bottom. Why would they do that? And then if I do that, and there's a challenge at 11, we lose that challenge. I don't see Bash and Keenan going to rocks for me. Because I assume this is my thought process of not sleeping or eating for 4 days at this point. Barely sleeping and barely eating over 4 days. So they would not go to rocks for me. Lauren and Ryan would probably throw their votes on me, and either Bash and Keenan join the ship, or they flip on me at the replay. So my thing is like I can screw over my biggest ally in this game, someone who I got really close to go 3 more hours in the game. That wasn't worth it to me. That's something I did not want to do. I know that goes against everything that I am as a person. And I thought, okay, if we go and we somehow win the challenge at 11, and then we merge at 10. I've pissed off like everyone on yellow. Blue sees that I'm at the bottom, and I could just be an easy consensus. I'll merge vote. So I get what, like 1 more day in the game, or if I somehow pull that, I'm going at final 9. And if I somehow survive that, my thing was I'd be dragged as a goat to the end, and I would have to lose in the process I would lose like the respect of these people who I've learned to come to like love and care for these past few days. Now, it sounds really weird that like you learn to love and care for people after knowing them for 3 days. This is such an intense experience that it happens, and it's hard to explain unless you've been there and done this with these people. And for me, yeah, I could do that and like make the move and do that, but that's what it was. It was just a move. I didn't see him as game-winning moves. I saw him as game-destroying moves. Like I knew coming in this game, I had very slim chance of winning just based on the reasons I explained earlier. On day 2, Casey came up to me and said, "You're the Christian Hubicki of the season. Everyone loves you. You're playing a stellar social game," which is like, thanks for the compliment, but that also puts a bigger target on my back. So that like decreases my chances of winning even more. And then I screw over everyone in the process, lose the respect of everyone. I'm not one to win this game. And for me, I would rather live with like the what ifs as a player than regrets as a person. Like to me, it wasn't worth just like screwing over people and doing all that for what? To be dragged to the end as a goat and maybe get $500. Like to me, like I would rather just be like, what could I have done better as a player and like be okay with how I went as a person than go out, make the moves, but have regrets as a person of how I handled that situation. Because it go against everything like I stand for and believe in as a person. Like I can leave James the player at Reelfoot, but James the person comes with me, and I chose the person over the player. And as throughout the course of the night, the way that the sleeping arrangement was, it was myself, Lauren, Ryan, and Keenan in the shelter. I think Bash like on the edge, and Angela was by the fire. And I saw as the night progressed, like Angela and Bash kind of got closer towards sleeping. To like I think they were right next to each other by the time I woke up. So I was like, okay, they're working together. Bash isn't on a foot. Like I didn't see a way out, so I was just like, you know what? I don't want to like this is it. I can make the moves, but I know I would regret them as a person. I feel really bad. And yes, I know this is a game and this is what we signed up for, but there's also that human element. And as I said, I'd rather be seen as like a bad survivor player than have regrets of how I handled it as a person. That makes me a bad player, makes me a bad player, but it is what it is. And I knew from a medical perspective, it was time for me to go. This was a lot harder than I anticipated. I think it was mentioned in some of the other deep dives, but I pretty much have, you know, half a heart. I had 4 open heart surgeries when I was little, from the age of my first being 5 months old, my final one being 2 months after my third birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I've had like a couple other heart procedures. Like when I left, Dr. Stan said, I never thought I would see someone with your condition play this game and do this. Like I lasted a lot better than I thought I would. I held my own. I did what I came here to do. And yes, did it suck? But I was okay with it, you know. I could live. I can live with how I went out of the game, but I wouldn't be able to live with how I treated others in the pursuit of $500. It was not worth it to me. I didn't see any way I was going to win this game, and my health took more precedence. So to all those who are asking in the comments, and I watched my elimination video, my tribal council video, my final confessionals numerous times, which should not do. Future players, do not read the comments. Bad for your mental health.
I've never done it for that reason.
Don't. I've gone the hard way. Don't do it. Don't watch anything. Everyone's saying, why aren't you fighting? Why aren't you fighting? That's why I'm not fighting. I would, as a person, I couldn't do it, and for my health, I knew I had to get out of there. Walking that quarter mile from our camp to clearing, headed to tribal council on morning 5, I was feeling super winded and out of breath. I was like, okay, I'm making the right decision here. And in the meantime, and as like all this is happening for the next past 12 hours, I'm barely sleeping, so I'm waking up a bit at times, and I realize I can't open up my eyelids.
It's the insult to injury.
Literally. I got stung by some bug on my right eyelid. Woke up in production, and I think it was Ryan was the first one to notice it. It's like, what happened to you? That looks really ugly. Production was concerned. They had Dr. Stan waiting for me when at Tribal. And so I woke up. I knew this would be my last day. I didn't see any good move for me to win. If there was a possibility, if I saw a possibility of me making a move, opening from 12 to Final Four with potentially winning, would I have done that? Yes. But and put my health on the back burner. But I didn't see any way forward for me to win this game. And I knew from a health perspective, it was time. And going into the game, when I did my initial interview, Pete Parker and Amos asked, would you rather win and be hated, or would you rather come just short and be loved? And I said, you play to win the game, but I want to do it in a way that's respectful, and that I can be proud of when I look back. So I said, give me the Fallen Angel edit. And like in a way, I think I got that edit. Like I can look back. One of my goals was to play a game I can be proud of and respect. When I look back upon it. And yeah, do I have what ifs and what could have been and should have been on how I handled the situation? Yes, but I can look back on how I handled it as a person and be proud of it, respect it. If that makes me a bad player, so be it. But that's why I didn't fight. Or plead my case for anyone who's wondering.
Can I play some what if scenarios for you?
Yes, if I ever thought of them, but yeah.
Well, I guess the first of preference, do you wish you'd been blindsided?
Yes and no. More so no, because I know I would have said something really stupid. I would have regretted it. Whereas what I did respect the fact that they told me. I did respect that. Being blindsided, like yeah, it would have been cool to be on the receiving end of blindside. Like as a fan, it's cool, but not really. But I know I would have said or done something dumb and would have harbored a lot of resentment towards them. And I don't know if I would have that level of friendship with them. I don't know if I would have like let my ego get in the way of a great friendship. Like Angela and Lauren are like the two I'm closest to from this experience. I talk to Lauren like every day. Angela, we talk just about every day, if not every other day. Like I think had I been blindsided, I would have been too hurt and too bitter to allow that friendship to happen.
So this was the better decision from the Majora Lions to just upfront tell you what they were doing versus blindside you. On one hand, you wouldn't have had a very awkward, awful night. The other hand, then there is the anger and frustration that happens when you walk out of the game not knowing what just happened.
Right. And I was like okay in that piece with it because like in like the big cry fest hug circle that we did, I told them all like I'm okay, I get it, I got what I came here for. And I was talking to my best friend about this on Sunday, and he's like, "Did you really mean that?" And now he is someone who like knows like, the very basics of the game, and that's only because we've been friends, we've been like best friends for a decade now. He knows I'm obsessed with this and knows like, and he just knows because I'm a fanatic. He thinks I'm crazy for wanting to do this, but fully supported it. And he's like, "Did you really need that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I even told Josh and Sharif and them when I was at Blue, I said, if it's me, I would understand. I got what I needed from this. I'm good. I don't vote me. I'm not telling you to vote me, but like I knew I wasn't going to. Like, I knew going in, I didn't have a good shot at winning this game, which is probably not the best mindset. But I'm also a realist, and so my thing is, okay, why am I going to subject myself to this? Why am I doing this to myself? And for me, it was to have this adventure, to have this experience, to in a way prove myself to myself. Because yes, I've done a TED talk, I present at this conference, I have my book, I have this, and I have that. But those are all like accomplishments that the brand has done. I still need to prove James to James, and I did that through this experience. I held my own challenges. I held my own in camp life. I played a game I can be proud and respect of, and I roughed it in like the elements for 4 days with no food, very little sleep, with a major medical condition. Like I'm okay. I was good. And it should better represent the starting community. Those are my whys.
What if you had the Kowanu idol?
If I had the idol, haven't thought about this one. There's part of me that says like I would have made the same decision, but then there's the gamer means like no, you would have regretted that. But then I'm still, let's say I use the idol and I get rid of Bash and we lose that challenge. I'm probably still gone 3 hours later.
Mm-hmm. Would Bash been the best person to target?
Just from my perspective, I still wanted to work with them, get rid of Bash, but then I'm still on the bottom. So maybe try something with like Miki and Bash and idol out. Maybe Ryan, just because he was a physical threat now to the 3. I wasn't the closest to him. Like Ryan, love him, great guy, was a workhorse around camp and like original yellow. Shelter was built because of him. But from like a connection wise, my connection with him wasn't the strongest.
Let's say your tribe wins those 2 immunity challenges and you make it through day 5 and you're at the merge. I mean, you've been talking a lot about like your health is at the forefront of your mind. Like does this become a bigger concern as you get through the merge, but you're a fan enough you're just going to keep fighting it out?
I would have thought. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have. I would have like confided in Stan, who is our doctor, just to let him know what was going on. But I would not have fought. I would have fought. Like I would have hit it. I would have done my best to hide it. Although talking to Angela after the game, she could tell that I was struggling.
Mhm.
Like I don't think I told her at all, but she could just tell. She's a ER nurse. She noticed on my chest. She knows the scars on my chest, and she knew something was up. But I don't think I told her like exactly what was up until after the game.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you, Angela.
So let's say your tribe wins immunities, you make it to the merge. It's hard to say what your strategy would have been to the entire
Right,
merge,
because
but what would you have been trying to do at the merge?
so I knew I was gonna be on the bottom. Like I knew you had the Ryan Storm one Angel contingent. I knew Casey was dead man walking, so he probably would not be the best person to align with. Bash and Keenum are wild cards, but then it depends what does Blue do. I think it would be like ride out yellow until as long as possible, and then I like to think use my connections from Blue, try to flip the game in some way that benefits me. But there's so many what ifs and variables
Mhm.
of who has the idols, who's marked, who does Blue vote out, why do they vote out, what are those connections like.
Mhm.
I will try to stay loyal to yellow as long as possible. And then when I saw, okay, I'm at the bottom, it's time to make a move, I would have made a move. But I think I would know I would have struggled making it. But if I believed it was the thing to do to help me win, I would have had to just kind of forgive myself for that, even though it would go against who I am. This is a game that's what I signed up for, and I like to think I would be able to pull it off. But there's so many what ifs and what could have been with a merge, because who knows what's going to happen. So that changes the dynamics of everything.
Well, with you being voted out, you actually become the first member of the jury, the mayor of Fowler's Point, Ponderosa. Talk to
Yes,
me about your experience as a juror.
my experience as a juror. So I was not expecting to be living the dream at Ponderosa. I was expecting to be on the pre-jury trip, honestly. Uh, Ponderosa was rough for me. Um, like honestly, and this is like no slight against like any of my fellow jurors, but my favorite part of Ponderosa was those 3 hours when it was just me, because I am an introvert by my like at my core, I am an introvert, and so this was the first time I had like not been around people for 4 or 5 days, and it was glorious. Those 3 hours, I was in the room, I could eat, I was able to shower, I was able to cry, I was able to process, and I was just able to be away from people, and it was glorious. Like I like loved just kind of being able just to sit, be by myself, and just be, which is something I had not been able to do for 5 days. And then Keenan comes, that was cool, whatever. Although I did overeat, I was
Mhm.
like, give me all the food, and then a few hours later, my body's like, dude, bad idea. You're gonna pay for it.
Question.
So Wednesday was okay. Uh, Thursday we had Josh and Casey join us, I believe, and like that was cool. I got to know Josh better. Casey and we talked some things out. We're all good. And then Friday is when it started to get to me. Just the way we were like sequestered from everyone, so we were just like stuck in our room.
Mhm.
Unless we wanted something like production would have to either escort us or bring it up for us. We are basically stuck in this room with our thoughts, whatever we did brought to entertain ourselves in the game. Just think about the game, talk about the game. Every few hours we had to relive the game. And for me, that was hard because like I'm playing like every few hours I'm playing the what if game. Oh, I found out this new piece of information. Okay, well with that information, what could I have done better? What could I have done better? Did I go out the right way? Why? What if this? What if that? Uh, to the point where I just kind of checked out by Friday afternoon. Just like I don't really care.
Mhm.
And there were more and more people. The room is getting smaller and smaller because you have more people stuff, more cots. Claustrophobia is starting to kick in a little bit. And by Friday afternoon, it was Friday evening. It was right after Lauren got voted off, but before she like did her little Ponderosa video. I guess like the stress of the game and my what ifs and what could have been, and then the Ponderosa setting. I lost it on production. Like I handled it in a very unprofessional way, and I've apologized many, many times profusely for how I handled that situation. But I I lost it, and we were all afraid of a juror removal because we saw, okay, there's three. We do a final nine and a final three. What if there's a tie? Well, I know last year they merged at 12, but they had a final two with a nine-person jury. Are they going to do that again? And we were all scared. Like I was scared because like, what if Megan wins it? I had never talked to Megan before in my life. Like I'm an easy person for her to get rid of. So I think we were all just in doubt. Okay, what if I've been through all of this sequester and isolation for nothing? That was getting to me. The fact that I really wasn't recovered from the game was getting to me. The constant being around people and reliving the game and all these personalities in a very tight space was getting to me, to the point where I lost it. Lauren comes, she does her Ponderosa thing, and then Taylor, who was one of the juror handlers, she pulls me aside. She says, "Are you okay?" I say no, and I just legit break down, like full on tears. Like I go sit in the bathroom for a solid 10 minutes of just like crying, processing the game, processing Ponderosa. Like my social barriers are just like dead. Everything just like had got to me. Sat there for like 10 minutes, pulled myself together, and then there was a mattress outside of our room. I sat on that for an hour, crying and shaking and processing. And I gotta give major props to Casey and Josh. They were like huge helps during this entire process. Um, Casey sat with me, talked me through everything about how I felt good as a person, but bad as a player, of how I handled my elimination. Um, trying to calm me down, talk me through it, put like it, it, it like wet um rag around my neck, trying to calm me down. My legs were shaking. Josh held my dinner plate for me as I was eating because I couldn't like hold my food. I was just shaking that much. It was just all getting to me like a solid hour. I was
Mhm.
just not in a good headspace. I spent the night like in uh a, in another bedroom just because like I just needed out for my own well-being. But once I got past that, Saturday was great because I knew, okay, you have one more day, you can do it. You're almost done. Like it was good in the sense like I got to make bonds with those who I hadn't made bonds with, and got to talk through some stuff with the game. But it was really hard for me,
Mhm.
just as being in there the entire time, having to process everything. And did I make the right move? Should I have fought more? But if I did, then I would feel bad. All those what ifs and what could have been every few hours, on top of like claustrophobia was setting in, on top of like all these personalities in that small room, on top of reliving the game, on top of just not having just that time just to be by myself and process. I was able to get that like a couple times, but it was just a really rough experience for me.
You needed like a true survivor where you have like a full 1 to 2 days with no one else.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. That would have been glorious for me. Because like I just how I am like as a person, like being around people like 24/7 is a lot for me. Like I lived by myself for 7 years. Like only person my sister lives with me, but we're pretty good about giving each other space. I am at my core an introvert. At my core, I'm a small group person. So just being around all these people all the time, it just got to me. And like nothing against them. They're all great, fantastic humans and I love them. But it was just a lot going on for me that I was not processing and handling all that well.
So, talk about your philosophy as a juror. What are you looking for in a winner?
So I wanted to pick the person who I believe played the best game.
Hmm.
I was not going to let my emotions, cloud my judgment. I wanted like, who do I want to represent this season of Surviving Reelfoot? Like,
Hmm.
who do I believe played the best game? And that's what I was paying attention to at Tribal. Okay, like who's getting the necklace? Who's not getting the necklace? Who looks like they're running the show? Who's just along for the ride?
Hmm.
And that was I just like I want to vote for who I believe played the best game.
So, looking at who ended up being our three finalists, Sebastian, Storm, and Angela, did you walk in the final tribal favoring one of them, or what were you looking to get out of each of those players?
So I was honestly up in the air. Like as
Hmm.
I said during my speech, I was up in the air. I did not know who I was going to vote for. Bash, I only had a couple conversations with him. Bash is a really good guy, but from a game perspective, I just didn't see it. I saw him as someone who's just along for the ride and play to get to the final three and not to win. Which valid strategy. You know, Bash made merge, which I didn't do. He made final tribal, which I didn't do. So like, he did something better than me in this game. So I can't knock that. But compared to the other two, I thought his was the third strongest game. Now, you know, had he given a like blown me away with his performance, would I have voted for Bash? Like yes. But I just felt that going in, Angela and Storm played a better game, and Angela and Storm gave a better final tribal council performance.
Mm-hmm.
Where, so between Storm and Angela, Storm I was cool with, but I really wasn't like super tight with. We didn't spend too much time together in the game, and I knew he was playing a good game from what I heard from the other jurors, but I really couldn't see it. Like I couldn't see that tribal that he was playing as good as everyone was saying he was playing. Now, his final tribal council performance, he played way better than I realized or gave him credit for. Storm, I don't know if I told you that, but like you played a way better game than I realized or gave you credit for. I want you to know that. Whereas with Angela, I could see like she never got the extra vote. She was in on like every single vote, knew what was going on. It was clear that she and Lauren were basically the Wendell and Dom of our season. Like, you know, they were running it tight, like everything was on lock. But then there was a part of me that felt really hurt by Angela because of how my elimination went down. But I wasn't, although I did think about voting for Storm for that reason, because like I was hurt and being emotional. I respect this game too much, and I respect the finalists too much to like vote based on my emotions or how I felt about someone. Like Angela put on a clinic on how to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
She did phenomenal. And her answer to my trial, so going out was 50-50. The answer that she gave me to my question, which was, what did you learn about yourself through this experience? Storm said that he was able to like prove that he could do this, which I really respected because that's why I wanted to do this as well. But Angela said she learned how to be vulnerable, like their strength and vulnerability, which is one of my biggest things. Like I'm all about being vulnerable, and there's strength to that. Vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. So like really, that really clicked with me. And then as like the final progressed, I was leaning towards Angela. And what I guess confirmed it for me was Lauren's question, where she says, name two jurors who did not deserve to be here. Storm puts my name down, which he explained to me after the fact. I get the reason. I was first jury, no big deal, all good, doesn't matter. So Angela not putting me, that did kind of confirm it. And then Angela's final tribal council speech, where she like owned her game, like put my vote for her in concrete. Like Angela played the game I want to play, a very social, a strategic game, knew what was going on, was able to control everything. She played the game I wanted to play. She did like a million times better than I ever could, and I was so proud and like happy to vote for her.
You talked a lot about the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, and there's been a lot of processing that's gone since your season. When I look from my perspective in your season, you have a very tough time because that core alliance that forms the Guano tribe ends up defining so much of your game, whether you like it or
Right.
not. And
Right.
that ends up really stifling a lot of things you could potentially do as the season goes. And so outside of like you going the summit or you getting the mutiny advantage, outside of these like those clear discrete moments, like are there things you feel like you could have done to change the outcome of your game?
I mean, I could. What if I picked blue?
Okay, you know, honestly, that is probably like you had two roads, and you had to choose a road at the very beginning, and like there's another alternate universe where there's a James who's a Yoko Strong, I guess.
And then what if quit after like 5 seconds? That place was a shithole and a half.
And then you realize you spend at least 3 days there.
Right. Oh. But yeah, like what if I pick blue? And then what? But my sister and I have talked about this way too much. I think she's tired of hearing me talk about it. She's told me this to my face numerous times. I don't know if she's watching right now, but her thing was, okay, you pick yellow, if you don't pick yellow, you don't have like the friendships and the connections that you have with with your people. You did what you were able to do it.
Hmm.
Because when I told my sister I was doing this, her first words were, "James, you're gonna die."
Words of encouragement.
Like exactly. It's like, thanks, Jess. But yeah, she's like, you pick blue. It could be a different game, but you don't have like the connections and the relationships and the friendships that you have with Lauren and like Angela and the rest of my yellow people. You know, like I could what if it, but I made a decision. That's what happened, and I'm good. Like I did what I came here to do, and are there what ifs and what could have been? Yes, but I can leave those at Reelfoot.
We'll do one more what if. So
Okay.
what if Keenan and Angela had been down to vote with Casey and Mix? Who would you would have won the target of Lauren, Ryan, Storm, and Dina?
Oh, I know I did not want to target Lauren. I think like they asked me in a confessional like on night one, night two. I think I said either Ryan or Storm, just because I connected with them the least and
Mm-hmm.
looking long term. Like yes, they built our shelter, but I could see them being like threats all further down the road.
How has been the response to people you know about you going and playing Survivor?
They're surprised I did it. They're like you did this. I because I didn't really tell that many people. I know within like the starting community, they're really proud of me and happy that I did this and I was able to represent. A lot of my families were just impressed that I did this, just because
Mm-hmm.
like they all know what I have going on from a physical perspective, my health perspective. They're like, you did this, like that's awesome. My coworkers were kind of shocked and like impressed. So I went back to work last week. I took Monday and Tuesday off. I got back Sunday night. I took Monday and Tuesday off. And I told my coworkers that I was going on a camping trip with some college friends of mine in Northwest Tennessee. That was my cover story because they saw I requested like 2 weeks off of work, requested to not be on call for a very long time. Like, James, what's going on? So I told them that, and they're like, "You camping?" They're like, "It doesn't make sense and all that."
Oh,
I'm
this
like,
is even better than camping.
are you doing like with like cabin camping or like camping? I was like, no, camping, camping. Like we're gonna have tents and hiking and made up this ridiculous life what I was doing with some college friends of mine who I don't really get to see that often. That was my cover story. They were really surprised. Um, my boss was just impressed that I did it. Um, yeah, they were just like all really impressed and proud that like I did the thing
Mm-hmm.
that I like slept outside with no shelter and very little food and all that good stuff. And then I went to like a networking event last night, and everyone's like, "What was that you did?" I was like, "So let me explain." And they thought it was really cool. Everyone's just like they think it's really cool, it's really impressive, and they're proud that I even like did the thing. Like I'm proud that I did the thing and wasn't like the first one out like died. So that was a W for me.
So as we close out here, I'd like to just kind of throw some rapid fire questions at you to just
Yes.
get some quick takes. So, what was your lowest point in the game?
Oh man, there's a tie for night three and night four for very different reasons.
What was your highest point?
From a game perspective, uh, that memory challenge because it was like proving that like okay, I deserve to be here, I belong to be here. And then in a weird way, the way I went out, my tribal council, like I went out proud, went out with my head held high, and just like took it like it was okay. And I'm proud of how I handled that. I didn't lose my cool. I didn't say anything dumb. I took it. I respected the move. I understood the move, and in a weird way, I'm really just proud of the way I handled that. Like I can look back on that moment and be like super proud of it.
What was your favorite challenge?
Like the three that I did. I mean, I have very few to pick from. Probably the first one because
Mhm.
it didn't involve like anything major, and I was able just to prove my value to the tribe with the memory challenge. And then I guess run up would be the victory at sea, just because I thought if we lost, it would be me, and I was able to help with us coming from behind.
Did anyone surprise you out there, or who
Barbara
surprised you the
did.
most?
Barbara did.
Interesting.
She played a really good game.
Um, oh gosh, do you have any favorite moments of camp life that you always keep that you always remember that maybe didn't even catch the camera?
I think we caught on. I think there's a video out there, but it happened numerous times. Keenan and his impressions. Like, you want to pass the time, you get a good laugh. You tell Keenan, do insert voice here, and he's gonna do it. You're gonna laugh your ass off.
I mean, even on the even on the interview the other day, I was just like, I didn't know this was a thing, and I'm dying.
Oh, it was fantastic. Like we all died whenever he did it.
So, of all the players, who do you wish you had a chance to work with or play with in the game? If you had to play it, if you had to like, take one person, put in a different game, and you could play with them, who would that person be?
I think Josh and I could do a good bit of damage together.
Mm-hmm. Will you ever go camping after this experience?
I mean, I need tents, I need a sleeping bag, I need a pillow, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it. Give me a few years. Like I go camping maybe once every 5 years, if that. I'm not a big outdoors person.
How do you think this experience is going to change how you watch Survivor?
So this quenched my thirst to ever do CBS Survivor. Quenched it. Like I'm good. I think it's going to change like how I see the nights. I'm like, oh, I realize these nights last about 20 years and not the 3 seconds that they show, and just like a better appreciation for the boredom. And I think I now better understand like why they say they're so close to their cast,
Mm-hmm.
because you like read their exit press and someone was voted out on day 5 and they're best friends with someone who's voted out on day 25. Like how, like why, how can y'all be so tight? It was only 5 days, but you just get so close to these people so quickly because that's all you have out there. It's just these
Mm-hmm.
people to survive, to learn about, to talk to, just to be with. Like you form these really instant bonds. That's all you have out there, and I understand. I now get that why casts can be so close to each other after only like a few days.
Would you play another live game?
Maybe, but it has to be like a 3 day game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been told, like I would be good like a 3 or 4 day game. Um, I I don't know if I would do Reelfoot again.
Mm-hmm.
I need it, and as I said in my exit interview, I need some time to romanticize the experience. Um, Physically, it was really hard. From a health perspective, I probably should not do it. It was just a lot on me. But if they ask me, I would have a hard time saying no because I'm an egotistical person. And if someone wants me for like an all-star season or returning season, I would have a hard time saying no. Although I know I would be there for a good time and not a long time. And then if I say yes, I would get there and be like, what the hell am I doing to myself? Like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't need this aggravation. And also, like, this was such like a beautiful experience for me of like learning so much about myself, being able to like prove me to me that I fear if I were to do Real Foot again, like it would lose its luster and I would like not look back on it too fondly. So I don't know, like the cons outweigh the pros of doing Real Foot again.
Are you
But never
gonna?
say never.
Yeah. So Taylor had a question from earlier saying, what was something you learned about yourself while facing these elements, meeting other players?
So that I'm a lot stronger and more resilient than I give myself for. And that's something I talk about with therapy. And my therapist tells me like all the time, James, you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. You're more resilient than you give yourself credit for. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like this showed me like, no, like I can do it. Like I am way stronger physically and mentally than I thought I was, or I would ever give myself credit for. More resilient and more capable. And that I can just be me. Like I don't need to be hide behind the brand. Like people can like me for me. And like I know that's like a thing that I've kind of struggled with. Like I kind of hide behind the brand sometimes. Like if I'm at a networking event, and someone asks me what I do, I say I am an HLA technologist. Oh, and I'm a writer. And then we can talk about that, and I can hide behind the brand. Whereas this, I didn't do the brand intentionally. People got to know me for me, and they found out after the fact, and like, okay, that's cool, James. You do that, awesome. They really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They know me for me, and they like me for me, and not for like the brand or what I've done.
A final question: will you be writing a book about this someday?
I'll probably write an article about it, but this was like a lot for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I may write an article because there's a conference coming up, and the theme is representation.
Hmm.
and this fits beautifully into that. Like 80,000 people, 80,000 plus people like watch our stuff on Facebook. 80,000 people, 80,000 plus people saw what stuttering was. That is not like my entire story, but just one small part of my story. One of the things that make me me, and they saw and they learned that it's okay to stutter. So I think that fits the theme beautifully. So I'll probably write an article about it and then call it a day.
Well, James, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you want to bring about your game that we haven't had a chance to?
I think that's it. Thank you for having me, Stephen. This was fun. I know I told you we'd be under 2 hours, and sorry,
We're so
but we were
close.
at 2:05, almost there. But tech issues on my
Well,
end, and sorry about that.
no worries. Hey, James, again, just thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Thank you for sharing your story. And I think you had a difficult game. You had a very difficult journey. And so I'm just really I really appreciated just kind of being able to dive into the details and all the just the potential alternate scenarios out there.
Right.
Um,
And yeah, this was really good. This was cathartic and therapeutic. So like, thank you for just being open for to have me word vomit process for the past 2 hours.
I
So
mean,
thank you for
well,
that, Stephen.
one of my goals with this is to help provide the players some catharsis because definitely like coming out of the game, it can be a lot,
Yes.
especially for the 17, the 16 players who don't win the season.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so thank you everyone for tuning in. This is the fourth deep dive interview of the season, but there are plenty more to come. If you like waking up early, join Drew and me at 8 a.m. this Friday to talk about his game. Join the Drew crew. It'll be fun. This Sunday, I'll be talking with Bash. This next Monday, Lauren and Emily. There will be many more to come. I think I have 13 of the 17 cast members scheduled. So prepare yourself. It's gonna be a wild ride. So thank you all for tuning in, and hope you all have a good rest of your night.
One quick thing, it's okay to stutter.
Again,
Bye, y'all.
just thank you so much, James. This has
Thank
been a
y'all.
real pleasure.
This was fun.
All
Bye,
right,
y'all.
take care, everyone.
Bye.